Hey guys, welcome again to another whiteboard nutrition session. Today we're going to talk about macronutrients. Macro simply means major, main. It's impossible for you to be healthy without understanding what we eat. Traditionally, we understood food, but unfortunately, most people nowadays, the only food they know is something that comes in a carton or something they get off the shelf in the supermarkets. So for understanding when it comes to this lesson, I will simplify everything, and we have three main macronutrients that we're going to focus on. So this is macro, which means major or main. Under this, we have what we call, the first macronutrient is what we call carbohydrates. These carbohydrates is simply the fuel source for your body. This is what, think of your body as a race car, and it needs immediate fuel for high performance. Under carbohydrates, we have two kinds of carbohydrates. I will divide it into three types. Number one is what we call fibrous or roughage carbohydrates. These are the foods that grow off the ground. And under here, we have things like veggies, we have things like salads, we have things like legumes, even though a part of it is still starchy carbs, but this becomes the main source of things, seeds. These are the main sources of fiber or roughage. These are the things that grow off the ground. The second type here is what we call processed, sugary or instant carbs. Think of this as instant fuel for your car. This is you put in, it's bad fuel. Either you're going to go for unleaded 93 or 95, depending. One burns faster, which means it is cheaper in the interim, but long term, you lose out. And what comes under this? Anytime you go to the supermarket, when you're waiting for the cashier to open up, while you're in the queue, anything that is on the side of the aisle, that falls under this. And this is your poison of choice. We're talking about sweets. We're talking about sodas. We're talking about cakes, candy, bread. All the things that you enjoy eating here, but at the back of your mind, you know, they're not good for you. And then number three here, we have what we call complex carbohydrates. Complex carbohydrates. These are the foods that your body has to work to break it down so that it can be used as your main source of fuel. Now remember, when you eat potatoes, when you eat pasta, when you eat rice, when you eat cassavas, your body doesn't know what that is. It has to break it down into a form that it can use. And that form is what we call glycogen. It gets broken and stored as glycogen, which gets used as glucose. And under this, we have things like brown rice. We have things like sweet potatoes. We have things like seeded bread. We have things like yams, plantains, etc. And we're looking at things like the traditional African pap, not iwisa, not the pap that we buy from the supermarkets. Traditionally, we used to grind maize, and it was very high in roughage, which means that every time you ate that pap, your body did not turn it into sugar. It had to work. And in working to break it down into glucose, it's like a workout for your digestive system. You burn more of that food working it out rather than going in straight away eating something like iwisa. It's no difference between eating iwisa and eating a slice of white bread or drinking soda, because it increases or it rises your blood sugar level up, which increases your insulin and makes it easier for you to be able to put on weight. The second macronutrient here is protein. Think of protein as the builder. If you're building a house, think of the protein as the bricks. Without the bricks, you cannot build the house. And then it is broken down into what we call amino acids. That's the cement that holds the brick together. Now, protein is anything that walks, anything that swims, or anything that flies, apart from human beings, qualify as protein. Depending on your background, depending on preferences, and depending on your religious upbringing, most people won't eat things like pork. But if you do, then you find also pork is a very good source of protein. For me, I don't enjoy pork. But when we talk about this, we're talking about things like beef. We're talking things about poultry, which is chicken. We're talking about wild game. We're talking about eggs. We're talking about beef, poultry, wild game, eggs. We're talking about ostrich. We're talking about lamb. We're talking about goat meat. All these things. We're talking about things like cottage cheese. Cottage cheese has very high source of protein. 1 cup of cottage cheese gives you up to 27 grams of protein, which is equivalent to 3-4 eggs. And my all-time favorite here, of course, eggs. So this becomes your main source of protein. And if you're somebody that struggles to eat protein, or you don't have the time, then that's when we start bringing in things like protein shakes. But for now, we're going to use this. If you're a vegetarian, we bring in legumes, where we bring in things like lentils and things like beans. The third macronutrient here is fats. Now, fats has always been portrayed as the villain. Most people don't like fat. Majority of people, they see that piece of fat on a piece of meat and they automatically think of the fat on their bum, their midsection. But without fat, remember, fat is one thing that insulates you. Without fat, you'll die from cold. Without fat, unfortunately, some of the minerals that we need for health cannot be transported into your cells. Without fat, you will lose elasticity of your skin. Older people, when you lose too much weight or you become, most old people lose weight. You can tell somebody's age because they don't have enough fat in their face, which means the skin hangs loose. Without fat, you can't have insulation. Most people, you realize when you go on a low fat or no fat diet, you'll find the first thing that you struggle with is your mindset. Your brain, you get into a brain fog because your brain needs fat. Fat, we have it in two forms. We have good fat and bad fat. Bad fat is what we call saturated fat. Saturated fat, these are the fats that are mostly come from vegetables. These are the fats that are created in the factories. These are the fats that have been denatured. They go bad at being introduced or being exposed to hot or anything that is hot or heat. So we have saturated fat, things like canola oil, most of your vegetable oils, because they've been processed at a very high heat. But we have what we call unsaturated fat, which we need to eat. At least 30% of your intake of food on a daily basis has to come from fat. And what are those sources? We're looking at olive oil. We're looking at grass-fed butter. We're looking at nuts and seeds. We're looking at fish, things like salmon. We're looking at easy things like coconut butter, coconut oil, coconut water. All those things are very essential when it comes to fat. So remember, understanding micronutrients if you just eat the right ratios, and if we're going to take ratios here, the rough estimate, depending on just wanting to be healthy, not talking to bodybuilders here that have to go extreme because of the extreme conditions or extreme demands in their sports. We're looking at 35% here coming from carbohydrates. We're looking at 35% coming from protein. And then we're looking at 30% coming from fats. Just eating that alone, straight away, you'll see there'll be a very big shift when it comes to your body composition. Which of these reasons which of these are you struggling with? And click on the link below. Join our 7-day insulin reset program. In 7 days, we can guarantee you that we can reset your body from being a sugar burner to becoming a fat burner by just changing how you eat and taking you through our high metabolic assessment. God bless and take care. I'll see you soonest.